Ulbrich. Oh my God, man. I don't want that guy for that same old losing team. Same old Falcons, same old Falcons. The Falcons have hired Jeff Ulbrich as the new defensive coordinator, and there's a lot of fans who are very unhappy with the decision. Me, myself, I'm not included as one of those fans. And I'm gonna give you 3 quick reasons why I'm not all the way against it. I will say first and foremost, Jeff Ulbrich was not my first candidate. He was like maybe my 3rd candidate behind like maybe the 2 other guys that I told you guys previously. But I'm totally okay with it because he runs an attack style defense. Like I said, I believe that our team is going to need to have an attack style defense. We have undersized, smaller, faster guys. We have guys who are not really as big right now, and we haven't drafted that way. Primarily, what we can expect out of him as a defensive coordinator is he runs a lot more man coverage than what we've been used to. He's not afraid to bring the blitz on 3rd down and 4th down. He likes to be a little bit more conservative on 1st down. And he tries to get pressure with his front 4. Now, that does bring up a very interesting concept of what we're going to do with our, our scheme. We have a 3-4 right now, and it remains to be seen what he's going to want to do with that defensive front moving forward. But I don't think there's that much of a difference between the two, and a lot of the time he's a nickel. He ran more nickel than we ran last year, but we ran a lot more dime. So I expect him to want to have 2 linebackers on the field at the same time, along with that front 4. If you're running nickel in a 3-4, you're basically going to always make sure that you have your 4 guys. I linked my previous video about how there's not very much difference between what a 3-4 and a 4-3 is. But essentially, we don't really got to worry too much about that. As long as we get some guys in the draft, I think we'll be in good shape. Another reason I'm okay with Jeff Ulbrich is because the last time that he was here, and I know people are like, oh, he's a retread. They're all retreads. Everybody in this league, every coach in this league has been around. They're retreads. But last time that he took over, when Raheem became the interim head coach and he took over as the defensive coordinator, the defense actually improved. And I think that's a plus. When he took over the New York defense, they actually improved as well. Having a good defense is a good blend between having a good defensive coordinator and making sure that you have the players. Look at Dean Pease. A lot of people didn't like Dean Pease being here, but when he went to Baltimore, they're doing great. I mean, aside from just losing recently. But when you actually look at it, he learned under Robert Saleh, a candidate that a lot of people wanted here as a defensive coordinator. It's a good thing when a coach learns different philosophies from other coaches and they learn how to do things in multiple different ways. I saw in a post where somebody was saying how, oh, he's a bad candidate because New York's defense went down because of Robert Saleh. Being a head coach entails a lot. It's hard to be a play caller and be a head coach for a lot of guys. So you rely on your defensive coordinator to do a lot. Once Saleh got fired, Ulbrich had to take over as the head coach. He had to give up play calling duties because he was terrible at doing both. Admittedly so for himself. There's a lot of team preparation and planning and making sure that the offensive, defensive, and special teams preparation goes all the way together. You can't just be worried about one side of the ball or only focus on one side of the ball because it needs more attention. You gotta make sure practice schedules, travel arrangements, there's a lot more nuance. You rely on those OCs and those DCs to do a lot for you. And a lot of the times, most coaches aren't calling most of the plays. They have veto power on a lot of those situations. Or they say, hey, we'd like to go with something a little bit this way, but the play callers a lot of the times, the ones that are really good at what they're doing, at least on one side of the ball, somebody's more dominant at one of those things. This guy is actually a pretty good play caller, and he's actually had a chance to do it. The third reason that I'm okay with him, player development. Jeff Ulbrich, a former linebacker and a former player himself, has gotten good linebacker play everywhere he's been at. As a Falcon here before, he actually helped develop Devondre Campbell and Deion Jones, who both actually started as rookies. And I don't think they start as rookies if they don't have somebody like him as a position coach. Deion Jones was a 2nd-round pick, and they're not always necessarily expected to come out the gate as starters, but definitely 3rd-rounders are not necessarily expected to be year-one starters. And Devondre Campbell has actually been pretty good while he's been here in the league, aside from what he did in San Francisco recently, and can't account for that. But all I'm saying is he's been really good at developing players. Another guy who he also helped develop while he was in New York is Jamie Sherwood, who actually took over starting duties when C.J. Mosley came over for Baltimore and got hurt last season. This guy's been a special teamer for most of his career. He actually had a standout season this past year. Allegedly, Ulbrich was a very big part of that, developing him as a starting middle linebacker. And he's a guy who's going to be a free agent this year that we might actually get here on our squad. J.D. Bertrand actually showed some signs of life last year, and I think that he's a lot better than what Nate Landman was. He would have started that final game of the season probably and played a lot more if he didn't have that injury on him. But I believe that having Ulbrich here, he's going to probably do a lot better to develop a lot of the talent that we have here. And a lot of people are, trying to guess where we're going to go in the draft this year. But if you listen to that one press conference that Terry Fontenot had, he said that he's actually looking to develop a lot more of the talent that we have here. So those are the main 3 reasons that I actually am okay and on board with Jeff Ulbrich. Now, again, all of this depends on what we're going to do with the draft and what we're going to do in free agency as well, too. But I'm sure that they're going to let him bring in his own position coach as well, to coach that defensive line as well, too. That's the one vacancy on the defense as an assistant that they do have open. And I think it would be kind of messed up to not let him, at least pick some of the groceries while it's available right now. So one name that I just mentioned was Terry Fontenot. And one of the things I've been seeing around a lot of people earlier this season was saying that Terry Fontenot has been a bad drafter. But I actually want to challenge you guys on that a little bit. When you look at it, Terry Fontenot's gotten Matthew Bergeron in the second round, and he's actually gotten Arnold Ebiketie in the second round as well, too. Both of those guys are going to be starters next year coming back, returning. Bergeron has started for 2 years in a row. You got to look at him for being able to get that. But he also got Dalman in the fourth round. And Drew Dalman's looked at as one of the top 5 centers in the league, maybe top 3 center. He's going to be a really sought-after free agent this year. He's a guy that we definitely have to make sure that we re-sign. But that's not a person that we were expecting to start for us, and that's huge. Ruke. I also like him as a second-rounder as well, too. I think Ruke is going to give us some big minutes. I like the speed that he has and the flexibility and the play style and the power that he has as a pass rusher and as a run stopper. I think he's a guy who could push for a starting position next year if we need to, or play a whole lot more. Zach Harrisin, guy that we got in the third round. Really like Zach Harrisin. His first year, he had 3 sacks. Now, a lot of people said that Grady Jarrett was our best defensive lineman this year, and I disagree. I don't think you could tell him apart from maybe say a Zach Harrisin on film. And, Grady only gave you 2.5 sacks this year, and David Onyemata gave you 3. And split playing time, Zach Harrisin gave you 3 as a rookie. So he's a guy that I think they also need to develop a whole lot more. And I didn't start with the first rounders, but Bijan knocked it out the park with that. Drake London, a number 1 receiver and a stud. Michael Penix, you can't be mad at that. A lot of you guys were really out there mad that we didn't get Jared Verse, especially after seeing the playoffs recently. But I'll fight you guys on down that hill all day that the main best players on that defense for the Rams are those 2 interior linemen. And I know a lot of you guys are upset about Kyle Pitts, but I don't think he missed on Kyle Pitts. You got a guy who was a 1,000-yard receiving tight end his first year. It is not his fault that his second and third year, he had Marcus Mariota and Desmond Ridder, and both of these guys are not starting for anybody. They are barely viable backups at all. Definitely not viable options at all. When you got that thrown to you, I think it's a little bit hard to really just get into it and really make some plays. You see everybody's play is elevated a little bit. Also, they don't get Kyle Pitts the ball enough, and we've done that, and I'll link you guys with a video as that as well, too. But I believe Kyle Pitts is going to have a great year next year, but we'll see. That's remain to be seen. But Kyle Pitts is giving you 600 yards this year in receiving, and that's not terrible. He's giving you starter minutes, and all you ask for is a starter out of the first round. We did spend a lot on him, and I'm not saying that you shouldn't be upset about what you're getting out of Kyle Pitts right now, but I believe he has talent. He doesn't suck. You got to find ways to get him the ball. Another person that I think that we actually hit it out the park with drafting late is Tyler Allgeier. A lot of you guys love Tyler Allgeier's dirty dog strap. Y'all think that he is the best thing since sliced bread, and you think he's the best running back on our team. But Tyler Allgeier, rightfully so, might be a starting running back on a lot of other teams. We don't know yet, but really big part of our offense. And I got to say, that was a steal to get in the 5th round. So you can't be all in all mad at some of the guys he's drafted. To be honest with you, day 1 starters are supposed to be your first rounders. Second rounders are potentially going to be starters later on, but they're not supposed to be day 1 starters. You're happy if you can get something out of them. I'm not saying that they're not supposed to be something, but majority of the time, they're not expecting those guys to be can't-miss guys. So if you got a starter out of the second rounder, you're good. We got 2 starters out of our second rounders on our team. Also, Troy Andersen, he's a guy who's giving you some starting minutes too. A lot of people don't think that Troy Andersen is a starting linebacker. Well, maybe a couple people don't think he is. I think he actually is a starting linebacker, and he's an effective player for us. He's just a guy that we got to make sure that we keep healthy. And the best ability is your availability. I ain't going to front about that. I ain't going to hold you guys. But if we can keep him healthy this year, I think he's going to be really huge for us. And Terry, you can't be mad at a lot of his free agency signings. Knocked it out the park with Bates. Can't be mad at him actually going for Justin Simmons as well, too. I know a lot of people may not be happy with the money we gave to Justin Simmons, but Justin Simmons is definitely an upgrade over Richie Grant. And can't be upset about that. I'd bring him back at the right price. Bijan, a little bit disappointing, but Gotta say that it's a little bit odd when you got him dropping 30, 40 yards down the field in man-to-man coverage. And that's probably some of the reason that Jimmy Lake is gone. But I'm not sure how much better he would have did as well, too. But you can't be upset at him for actually addressing the position. Another guy that people love is Caden Ellis. And one of our best defensive players last year, signed as a free agent. And David Onyemata was actually pretty good his first year. Last year, not quite as much. Paid a little bit much for him, so missed on two guys with that. He actually pulled the trigger on the cornerback that used to be in Detroit as well, too, and he got Mike Hughes here as well. So can't be mad at some of the other plays that Terry's made. He's filled some holes, and he's done a pretty solid job on some of these things. Stay tuned. I'm going to keep hitting you guys with episodes throughout the offseason.